The Peace Dependency podcast is brought to you by Total Rat NES. Shop your Goofy Food Controller TWO merch and CTWC approved hardware on TotalRatNES.com. Welcome to the Peace Dependency podcast. I'm your host Frank, also known as Sir Mason. It is only fitting that this episode premieres on May 4th. My guest this month is a master, not a Jedi master, but a Tetris master. He was featured in the 2010 documentary The Ecstasy of Order and calls himself the worst good Tetris player. I am talking about Ben Mullen. We talked about filming the documentary, the best of 99 match against Louie Skouie, and being the original Mullen who mullened a game out. This is our conversation. Ben, welcome to the Peace Dependency podcast, and thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. This is great.
Hey, first question is always the same question to everyone who's new on a podcast, and that is, how did you get into NES Tetris?
How did I get into NES Tetris? Boy, I should be prepared to answer a question like that. It was a slow process for me, honestly. We got the game. I live in a small town. I came from a small town, and we got the game.
Yeah.
We were one of the only houses in the town to have it. So, like, people would come together. This is true for every game. Like, one house might have Mario 3. We all go over to that house. We were the house that happened to have Tetris. And I didn't love it at first.
You had it at launch?
No, yeah, we had it pretty quickly after it launched, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just, I played it for a little bit, and I put it away, and it was really months and maybe a couple years later that I really came back to it and started to love it. My whole family loved it.
When was that?
This would have been, oh God, was it the late 80s or early 90s? But we just slowly got into it. We got into that and Dr. Mario kind of simultaneously. I think those two games really feed off of each other. And in my family, it was kind of those two games that would feed off each other, and we'd play them both.
And was there a little competition in your household?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and let my older brothers beat me at anything. The heck with them. So I had to work hard.
You're the youngest of the family?
I'm the youngest, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm the oldest myself, so I can't let my younger brother defeat me at anything. It's embarrassing.
Oh yeah, that is an embarrassment. So I had to embarrass my brothers. Yeah. They eventually gave up on it and didn't care so much. Move on to things like owning cars.
You stick to Tetris. So what were the scores that you reached in the 90s?
God, in the 90s, I guess this is kind of a funny anecdote, and it speaks to how little anybody knew at the time. But I just would always just play it like a person's knitting, something to do with your hands, and I'd be just skimming lines most of the time. And I had probably a month where I'm like, well, how much score can I get? Yeah. And so I practiced at that, and I got better at Tetrising, and I got probably a high 800, which is pretty good, but it's not a max out. And the stupid thing is, what I said to myself at that point is like, well, it'd be easy to max out or roll it or whatever happens. And I just gave up because I thought it's not even that interesting a thing to do.
So 800K in the 90s, but you had no guidance to how to play the game whatsoever, or were you active on online forums or whatever?
Oh, no. Online forums would have come way after. I wasn't even smart enough to keep the game's little booklet. So I didn't, sometimes it would accidentally start on level 18. I'd be like, how did that happen? Or level 19, more likely. I didn't even know the holding down A and pressing start trick yet.
But how did you came up with all those strategies to score an 800k score? Because even at a level 9 start, 800k is impressive, especially in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of we did play a lot, and I played just a lot on my own, and it's just you kind of just fall into the strategy of the kind of the slope and
Yeah.
just by I think failure is the best teacher in anything in life. So anything that I tried that failed, I stopped doing. And I certainly didn't have great stacking like by today's standards, but I had like
Yeah.
adequate stacking and enough luck in that one game to say, well, score's probably easy. What a stupid idea that was.
So how long did it take for you to get back to that 800k or maybe 900k?
Oh god, getting back to it, and getting back to it really sort of happened, not from the movie, because I heard about the filming of the movie a long, long time before it came out, because you know how movies work, and the movie really got me back into training for it and getting better just for the tournament and whatnot. But even before that, it was just finding some online forums, like finding the existence of twin galaxies and stuff like that got me thinking, hey, I'm pretty good at this old Tetris game. I should try to. And some of the records look breakable, so I thought, okay, I'm going to figure out how to record them, which was harder back then. It wasn't like just twitching now. So I tried to get whatever record looked easy, which was lines, because the lines record was like 293, and I thought, oh, I can beat that. I ended up just getting 296, which is also not impressive by today's standards. We have to remember, anytime we talk to me about, it was a long time ago, things were harder then.
It's the first CTWC in August. It will be 12 years ago.
Isn't that incredible?
It's I didn't even know about classic Tetris back then, and I was 14 then.
Yeah.
I was into US stuff because I love pro wrestling, and I tried to watch NASCAR and IndyCar, and I'm a big fan of. I started to get into hockey and all that, but I was getting into the US sports, but never heard of classic Tetris, or even I knew about Tetris, but never thought about. Oh wait, maybe there were games before Tetris on the DS or whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's grown so much over time too. Because that first tournament felt like I went to this really small qualifier in Minneapolis here recently.
Yeah.
Because there's small qualifiers everywhere, and it felt like it had a field about like the first year of CTWC. Like so many people out there now, it's incredible. But to circle back, because I probably didn't actually answer the question, like how long did it take to get back to 800 or 900k? While I say this of myself in a loving way, but I also kind of mean it. I'm probably the worst really good Tetris player in the world. Like,
why do you think that?
Most of the guys that you've probably interviewed have 100 max outs in the last month. I have 24 total, and so it's a
still way more than me. I'm not.
It's still a really special moment every time I max out, and
I get it.
It took a while to get. Once I knew that everyone else was going for score and that's what I need to be doing, it took a long time to get any good and consistent at all.
Yeah,
doing it.
But were you always playing Tetris, or were you playing different games, or what did you do between the 90s and when you started to train again for lines and all that?
Well, I played games, and Tetris was one of them, but it would just kind of come up once in a while. But the biggest games I liked, and still like, and I still play some of these, Super C. Remember Super C?
No.
Oh, it's a shooting game on the NES. It's beautiful.
I don't like shooting games, so I try to keep away from whatever shooting is.
I don't even like shooting games generally, but this one just is. It's like easy enough to beat.
Yeah.
I liked it, and I like Mario 1, Mario 3. I never got into much on the SNES. Got super into Mario Kart 64. I actually either still hold or used to hold the Minnesota State record for Rainbow Road 3-lap. Because it looked like the easiest thing to beat on their form.
But you never know with Mario Kart. All these crazy tricks you can do, especially Nintendo 64. It was a broken game. So
right, yeah. And the trick with the the record I did get is in Rainbow Road. There's 3 ways you can hit that that known, what do you call that? Shortcut.
It's pretty quickly after the start, right?
Yeah, you jump off the side and you hit
exactly.
the track. And even if you hit the track and bounce off and have to get pulled up, it's quicker than going around. So that's one way to hit it. The next way to hit it is to hit it and stay on the track, but it stops you dead in your tracks. The third way to hit it is it's pretty tricky, but you can hit it and just sort of careen into still going fast. And I happened to do that 3 times in a row.
Was it lucky or was it?
Did you pretty lucky. I did practice a good deal to do it, but it was pretty lucky. Like most things in Tetris, it comes down to skill, but also a little luck here and there.
We'll talk about the state of the Tetris scene and all that a little bit further. But do you think now with rolling being the dominant playstyle on especially 29 on the post play, do you think it's more about skill or do you think it's also about luck?
Well, I think it's very much about skill. The ability to stay alive on 29 with rolling.
Yeah.
Very much about skill. There's still luck aspects.
Yeah.
Like with any part of the game. You can get a good set of pieces or a bad set of pieces. But it's definitely skill. Because the cream kind of rises to the top, and it's the same way you see the people who are the best from just watching their Twitches. And they tend to be the people with the highest proven scores. Yeah. Really excited that Eric got that record because he was the guy. He's one of the ones I was rooting for. I'm rooting for a lot of these guys, but he's one of them. No. I won't even necessarily list the people I'm rooting for, but Fractal's definitely one of them. Like he's done so much in the game. I'd like him to hold the record outright at some point. He hasn't actually held the high score record outright at any point, has he?
Only on PAL.
PAL. He is perfected PAL. So he's like the PAL.
Yes.
He's the end of the world in PAL.
Oh my god! First player to ever reach glitch colors in either version of the game.
So now I think it's time for him to come back to non-NTSC. Maybe he already has, and he should.
He has. The funny thing is, like, he got glitched colors, and then a day or two later, qualified for CTM, had a 1.4, had the number 1 seed, but Fractal's tournament luck. It's not there, so lost in a decided against Moja. Yeah. So, but he will be there. He will be when CTWC 2022 will come around, and if he participates, he will be one of the favorites for sure.
Oh, definitely. And I think there's always that slight difference between the kind of player who's capable of getting the world record and the kind of player who's good in tournaments. And the more I see Dog learning rolling, the more I think he might become both, too. Because he's gotten kind of up there too, hasn't he? Hasn't he gotten like a 2.21 or something? Yeah,
2.2 on a 29 start.
Oh my god, that was on a 29th. I didn't even know that. It was on a
29 start.
Jeez. So any day now he could get like 5 million too. Who knows?
Yeah, and the quest of the first person who reaches NTSC glitch colors, or what I like to call the true colors of NES Tetris. That hunt is on, because I know some players that are trying to grind for the glitch colors in NTSC Tetris.
What an obscenity. If we would have even spoken this kind of idea 10 years ago, people would have thought we were insane.
I mean, you got featured on the original legendary classic Tetris dock, the Ecstasy of Order, the Tetris Master, and back then the game was way different. And maxout, it was rare. By the time that the dock got released, I think only 5 or 6 people had a verified maxout, or at least community acknowledged maxout. I mean, you didn't even max out until 2012. When that dock got around, you didn't even have a max out. You had like a 800 or 900 KPB.
Yeah, when it was filmed, that was 800 something, and by the time it was released, I had a couple of one-aways. Just oh god, I got like 12 one-aways before I finally maxed out. It was the worst thing in the world. Also the best thing.
So, what was your grind to that max out? Because you were playing that game for so long, you started trading for the movie, and then you You had it 800k in the 90s, so you knew I'm capable of reaching to the 999,999. But what was that journey towards a max out?
Oh, a lot of the journey was, I think if you want to get good at DAS, you gotta just like go into the cave, so to speak, and that's that.
Yeah.
By which I mean just months of grinding level 19. So did a lot of that before I got what I felt was good enough, and
Yeah.
even that was barely good enough. And then I would just grind 18 a bit, hopefully do it too, and then it kept almost happening, but not quite happening.
How frustrating is that?
It is so frustrating. I can't even begin to tell you. And I'm back in that frustration now whenever I play because I'm a hair's breadth away, both from a 1.2 in terms of my PR and a 19 max, and so it's just equivalently frustrating. Only like the next thing. And I might I don't know if I'll ever get them. I haven't been playing that much recently. I'll probably one day I'll get them.
Is it a goal to reach that 19 max?
Yeah, and for anybody, it should be a goal.
But for you, for playing the game as long as you did, if that 19 max will ever be there, is it done? Can you retire if you want to retire for good, or do you keep playing the game until you get that 19 max?
Well, I keep playing the game until I die. Whether I grind to try to get a 19 max is kind of another thing. I'll certainly hope for it. But it's the kind of game that's so elemental and beautiful, we're all going to probably play it until we die. Or until our hands don't work anymore, you know?
What is it that makes you feel that way?
Because it's just like, what is it that makes me feel that way? If you play a game that has a known route through it, like Mario 1, it eventually gets so boring that it's like watching paint dry to sit there in front of it. But Tetris, you get into this kind of a mental flow where you're just, it's like a form of meditation almost.
Yeah.
So even if you're not gunning for some high score, just playing it is an enjoyable experience, especially when you're doing well on level 19. And maybe for rollers, that means level 29 now, I guess.
Yeah.
It's, when you're doing well on a hard level, it's just a really nice mental state to be in, I guess.
How do you play Tetris when you're at home? Do you have music on? Do you only listen to the game itself, or?
I keep trying to listen to podcasts because people tell me it's a good idea, and I could become a smarter, more worldly person. But what I ultimately do is I listen to either Beach Boys. If you ever come to my Twitch, you'll notice it's usually Beach Boys or Collective Soul, or some like version of the '80s ladies, like Belinda Carlisle. Come out and say it. She's on my Pandora.
It's fine. It's fine. Everyone has a guilty
usually
pleasures.
Just music like that. And I gotta kind of do it. Put the kid to bed. Go down after that. And,
is it you only play Tetris at night when the kids is at bed and you have time for yourself?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless I'm working from home, which I do less now because we're moving back to that. So I used to do it a little bit at lunch, but not so much now.
So going back to 2010, you got invited to feature on the Ecstasy of Order, but how did you get in?
Okay, well, yeah, and this really speaks to like how I got started with serious Tetris. Is that I knew this movie was coming out, and they had done like I don't know if it was press releases or they said something on some social media that they were going to invite anyone with a world record. And I looked at the world record on Twin Galaxies for lines, and I said that is low-hanging fruit. That's what got me invited. I exploited their public statements. I'm an incredible example of a person who's very lucky with timing. Like I got in early. So people know who I am as a Tetris player. The vast majority of people who know who I am as a Tetris player are way better than me now. And God bless them, it's great. But people know who I am, and I'm thankful for that because I got in early and just broke some easier to break world record.
And you were hoping that record never got broken, or when you broke that record, you were like, "This is my application. I hope I'm good enough to get on."
Right. So this is something that people sometimes confuse about me because they'll introduce me as though this is the guy who used to hold the world record in lines. And
Yeah.
so what people sometimes confuse is they think, oh, don't you want to try to get that record back, or don't you want to even get to level 30, which I've never even done? And I say, no, I really just did that to get in that movie. I actually don't care much about lines at all. People get that confused about me, and I can see why they get it confused. But
Because you're a former world record holder.
yeah, but
Yeah.
honestly, I just used it to get into the movie.
But why did you want to participate in that movie?
Oh my God, who wouldn't want to participate in that movie? If you see something like that,
I mean, anyone, but you weren't playing Tetris no, I don't want to say at all, but not seriously. So
right, yeah.
you saw a press release and you were like, okay, let me see if I can exploit it. We'll go for Lines World Record, but even
Sure.
that makes you need to play the game more
Yeah.
seriously than you probably did back in 2010.
Oh, and really, that's the moment I started playing more seriously too, because like I knew I was good. I give myself crap as the worst good player, but I knew I was good, and I said to myself, I belong in that movie, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of at that moment that I started really training to, because I knew I was good deep down, but I actually wasn't super good because I was way out of practice. So I had to
Yeah.
both get into the movie and become good enough to be worthy of having been in it simultaneously. And I kind of ratcheted up at the same time. Like I did the movie, did the tournament, and I was just good enough to pass off on all those things. And I kept getting better with time, even as people got better. So it kept seeming like, oh, he deserves to be here. And now it's a different world, but
It sounds like you fluked your way into the Ecstasy of Order.
and that's the story of my life. I did. I fluked my way into this. I fluked my way into my job too. Thank God I'm gainfully employed. Yeah, this is the story of my life. Just a lucky human, I guess.
So, what was it like to have a team around you following you on your Tetris journey?
Oh, when they were filming that was a trip. That is just a trip. If you ever are in a documentary about a video game, do it because that was fun. All of the people who were involved in that filming, great
Yeah,
friends. It was so much fun. We went out to a bar one night and filmed at home.
nice.
It was pretty cool. They were in town for like 4 days or something like that. We went all
Yeah.
around filming just Tetris stuff. It was the time of my life.
Was it a relief that you could talk about the game that you loved and not get weird faces for like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah. You mean like meeting people who also knew anything about it at all?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, becoming connected to community with this game, both through the movie and afterwards through the tournaments, is great.
Yeah.
You meet other people with the same passion, the same love for it. A lot of people, I'll say, oh, I'm really into Tetris. I'm good at this one game. And they'll be like, what's Tetris? And then I'll show. This legitimately happened. I was at work. I showed my boss a video of me playing on YouTube. I said, this is what Tetris is, like clear lines. And he said, are you controlling this right now? I said, no, it's a video. And he said, oh, I don't understand this at all. And he walked away. Even seeing it, he couldn't understand what it was. Like, so it's good to have community that understands it because some people don't at all.
Or don't want to understand it.
Don't even want to, yeah. I mean, there's things in life I guess I don't want to understand. So,
True.
okay.
So what did you do in those 4 days that the crew got to your home and all that?
What did we do? Okay, so they got to our house. I can't remember if they stayed with us. It's been so long now. We went to a few bars. One bar had like a video game, had like Tetris at it, so it was like a
Yeah.
Tetris bar. It's my favorite bar ever. It had Tetris and karaoke
Oh
within
wow,
10
I
feet of
love
each
both.
other. Oh, food was terrible. The service wasn't good. Tetris and karaoke. Come on.
That's the
Uh,
life. We need to
so we
get if we ever go to something like that, we need to invite Steve DeLuca and the Shredder because he's a pro at karaoke and playing Tetris at the same time.
we've done karaoke at CTWC before, which we should
While
do
playing
every single
Tetris.
year. I wish there were a Tetris game there, but there sadly wasn't. Uh, so we went to that bar. We went to several bars. We just hung out, ate food, drank. Oh, what a great
Yeah,
time. At that
and you
time, I
just
used to play Tetris by sitting on an exercise ball,
why?
which really helps. I still rock a lot while I play. If you ever watch me, it just, I don't know, the nervous twitch of it kind of helps.
So why not go for a rocking chair?
I did use a rocking chair actually for a while. Now I'm in a regular chair. Getting older, can't move so much.
No, especially if that chair is squeaking a little bit. So every
Oh
time you
yeah,
move, you hit a little squeak. So you know you have to sit still.
yeah, the worst. Yeah.
So, did you know the other players that were going to be featured in that movie when they came to your home? Or was it a surprise until you got to Los Angeles for the World Championship?
I think I knew them. I think it was public knowledge. At least the ones that were kind of had already been big in the game, I knew of.
Yeah,
So I know I knew about Jonas and I know I knew about Harry. I
yeah,
don't think at the time that I knew about Jesse yet until it was before we went to LA, but a little bit before. And it was still unclear whether Thor was going to show up. I think they referenced
yeah.
that in the movie, and that was real. They were actually unclear on if he would show up, and he did, thank God. And he's been to a couple. He's been to a couple of CTWCs, but not for a while, and it's great
No,
to see him whenever he comes out. But yeah, I
yeah.
did mostly didn't know, but knew a few of them.
So, what did you do in LA with the gang before you played CTWC? Or was it just you come into LA, you a day later it's a tournament, and a day later you go back to Minnesota?
Well, when we came into LA, we did hang out. We had a big beach party or a beach
Yeah,
house party. And you see just a little bit of that in the movie, but they had set up some Tetris games, so we were drinking and playing, and Jonas blew us all out of the water. And we were
yeah.
doing, I was like suggesting games we play, like, oh, let's play 19-2, and whoever get the highest score. And I did my best, and everybody did their best. And Harry, uh, in Harry fashion, I shouldn't say Jonas blew him out of the water. He was the solid second every time.
Yeah.
And Jonas ended up winning, got the highest score of the day. Thor broke the world record in Tengen Tetris that very day. And
Wow.
I think they entered it
Nice.
in the database because we had a Twin Galaxies judge there. So
Oh,
he like got the world record and they just put it in the database, which is pretty cool.
just in case someone broke a world record because you have 8 of the greatest Tetris players there, or 5 of the
Exactly.
greatest Tetris players there. Just in case someone breaks a world record, it's officially there.
And sure enough, somebody did. You get Thor in a room and you're gonna get a world record broken. We did that and we kind of hung out. We hung out a lot actually, and then the tournament was a lot of fun. They had like a band. It was like an 8-bit band. It was a really
Yeah.
great year for the tournament, and they showed the movie right after it. Wait, that was second year because the first year they were filming the movie.
I
I'm getting
can't
older. My memory.
think.
Obviously, it was the second year that they showed the movie.
Do you still stay in contact with everyone from the movie?
Yeah, I mean, not every day, but I'll like
No.
stop into people's Twitches who are there, and I have them on Facebook. Um, one person you don't see from the movie because you never see people who are behind the camera,
Yeah.
but they're very important to the humans in the movies. Me and Dan Billups, he was the camera person. We have a tradition of staring into each other's eyes for 5 solid minutes at the
Oh.
post Tetris party, and it just freaks people out. And it's true what they say when you lock eyes with someone for a long time,
Yeah.
piece of their soul goes with you.
I can imagine. I mean, it's you have to stare them right into their soul, otherwise it wouldn't work.
Yeah, everyone from that
So
movie are just great. And I mean, tons of people we met afterwards too, because it's
yeah.
grown so much.
So when a tragic event like last year when the late Jonas Neubauer passed away, do you keep in touch with everyone that is there?
Yeah, I mean, especially when that happened, we kind of all reached out to each other, and some of that happened on Discord or would happen over the phone or on Facebook. But yeah, with that, we try to be there for each other. I mean, that was just the hardest, worst thing. I wish it could be undone. What a
Yeah,
crap.
it was.
Yeah.
It was such a shockwave through the community.
Yeah.
When that news broke, nobody knew how to react,
Yeah,
basically.
it was hard because I mean, like we don't talk to the people from the movie like every day, but I see it's like morning when I heard about it, and it had all these missed calls from folks. I'm like, what the
Mm-hmm.
hell is going on?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a real shock, terrible. And it's to which to speak of Jonas is to speak of him in many ways as a human, great person.
Yeah.
He let me wear his coat. He would always hang out. It was so affable, and he helped build the community. And speaking of him also as a Tetris player, you talk about those early days and how people didn't max out as often. And that's true for almost all of us, except for Harry would max out all the time in those days. So not even that
Yeah.
different from now. And Jonas was a guy who could max out like every game. Not like every game, but
Had a high chance of maxing out. Yeah.
at the time especially, it was something to watch
Yeah.
because it was something that my eyes had never seen. A person who could do something like that.
Yeah. It's amazing to hear that the rivalry between Jonas and Harry just started way before, even during the filming of Ecstasy of Order, and that rivalry just kept continuing for the first few years of the World Championship.
Yeah, those two were really for quite a while the only two really honestly good enough to be considered the best. Thor
Yeah.
too, but he wasn't actively playing, so that's the only reason I'm not saying him in that. But those were kind of the two titans in those early years.
Yeah.
And then we
So
built more titans as time goes, obviously. But
few viral hits, and then you just have so many pillars of a community holding it together.
viral hits, yeah, that's I'm amazed. I got like the year after the Boom Tetris for Jeff or the neck and neck video.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest viral thing. If you were there, nothing like that seemed to have happened. Like obviously it's a video just created with cute things. And I'm like, what happened? I think he got second place that year, so memeable things should be made of him.
Jeff Moore, you mean?
Yeah.
He got second place in 2016. Yes.
Yeah. Was that the year from which Boom Tetris for Jeff came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such. Because that got popular just weirdly, like outside of Tetris, and then it found people, and they became Tetris players.
I mean, you were there in 2016 when Jeff Moore versus Jonas Neubauer, the final was happening, but I get the feeling that when you were there at that moment, it wasn't like this is something that will go viral within 2 years.
Oh.
It was just a regular Tetris match, and it happens to be the finals of the 2016 World Championship, but it was nothing.
It was great Tetris.
Special.
It's great Tetris, but it wasn't different than anything we had. It's just that you never know what'll go viral, and you never know why it'll go viral. And thank God when it does. It's just like the same luck that got me into Tetris early. It's some weird luck happened with the fact that Alex Kerr and his necks look real necky.
So Jeff Moore and Alex Kerr, the two greatest necks in NES Tetris.
Because their necks are really prominently featured. Oh, God. Yeah, that helped Tetris take off.
Joseph won 2018. Even that went viral a year later because 16 years old player who makes their debut at a world championship just defeats the 7-time world champion. And pretty much, I don't want to say that it's the match that killed Das, because I think I don't believe that necessarily, but it is the last time that a Das player reached the world championship finals. And 2017 was the last time that a Das player won the world championship. I have been thinking about it, and I don't want to call Das as that, but it's obvious that a Das player can't win major tournaments. It will be difficult to win a world championship. It will be difficult to win the Masters event of CTM. Do you agree with my opinion that Das has evolved, that it's now more of a supportive playstyle for people who try to be a hybrid player?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it's a complicated ball of wax to even talk about. I do think that DAS is the most beautiful form of Tetris. Maybe just because it's the form I play. I think that
Yeah.
rolling on 29 is beautiful too. So I'm not in any way disparaging anything, but I think that the limitations put on a player by having to do DAS make it
Yeah.
just kind of a beautiful ballet. Um, and I do think DAS could be considered dead in a way, in that you aren't really going to see a DAS player compete against people who can roll. Because
Yeah.
heck, I could be 300,000 ahead, which is a huge lead at 29, die, still
Yeah.
lose a game. Like
Yeah.
it's just not a viable thing for the future, right?
Is it
Uh,
fair to put players with two different play styles against each other?
in one way, yes, because it's not their fault they're better than me.
Yeah.
They're still using their own two hands and they're still playing the same game. So
Yeah.
what right would any person have to complain? But at the same time, it would be interesting to have a, a separate tournament, even because some of the great tappers and rollers are also really great at DAS,
Yeah.
and they should be able to compete at that too, because it is kind of its own.
But why do we need to make an exception for dance? Why not for tapping?
Oh yeah, that's where it gets weird, right? Like tapping is somewhere between the two. So what do we do with tapping now that there's three play styles? Do we just junk it?
If you will have a dance only tournament, and there is now one happening on the online scene, Scamper 9 is hosting a dance only tournament, and great dance players are performing in it, but also players who use tapping or rolling as their main style.
Mhm.
They play dance and they play pretty good dance.
Yeah.
So it's happening, but why should dance have its only like dance only tournament? Why shouldn't we have a roll only tournament or a tapping only tournament? You know?
You raise great points. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the roll only tournament shouldn't be roll only because it's the strongest. So whenever I think of whatever the strongest is, it should just be open to anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then DAS is the quote unquote weakest in terms of
Yeah.
its potential. So I get it. Tap. But that tap being in the middle, just kind of. Is it easy to police even? I guess if you're looking at people's hands, you can tell that it's tap and not roll pretty easily.
Yeah.
Even by sound, you can tell. I'm not against it. I certainly couldn't be involved because I can't tap either. But yeah, if people want it and it would be fun for people, ultimately it's a game, right? So
Yeah.
if it's fun and it would make for a good tournament bracket, yes, why not?
But would a dance only tournament be fun to watch, or do you have interest in if there will be a dance only tournament?
You'd think that I should say yes, and that I'm in the one you're referring to. But sometimes I leave the Tetris scene, and it's so dumb. I stopped playing for a while. I'm in the middle of one of those stopping playing for a while things, and I should
Yeah.
probably play again soon. So I didn't even know this DAS tournament you're talking about, but I should get into one, and I would. It is something I would be interested in. Um, wait, what did you ask? Now I feel like I'm losing my train of thought.
Don't matter. Doesn't matter if you lose your train of thought.
There should be DAS only tournaments. If you're talking about like broader viewability for society, I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to care that much about anything other than whatever the strongest thing is. Because
Yeah.
people aren't that interested. If you look at like sprinting, they want to see Usain Bolt. They don't want to see like who can sprint the fastest when they're hopping on one leg.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, unfortunately, it would be more of an obscure thing and something that just people who are good at Tetris have an interest in.
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, there's like 1,000 or 1,200 people who are good at Tetris now, so we'll get enough viewers just out of our own people.
Total Radness!
Total Radness! Yo, this is Steve DeLuca of Total Radness, home of the Tetris World Order.
World Order. Bringing order to a chaotic world.
Ready to get rolling on the right side? Dominate the D-pad with a goofy foot controller. Visit TotalRadNES.com to score a controller modded by the inventor, me. We've also got TWO gear, CTWC approved hardware, and a ton of additional retrospective madness. Tune in to twitch.tv/Total Radness to watch Quaid and I take the BLV to 11. Also, don't miss the other homies at Aaron Jazamoki for the Boom Tetris house parties with the Kitchen Dwellers. And at Classic Vomps for those classic Tetris snubs. Be the best and keep it TWO for life.
We will return to the conversation with Ben in a minute. But first, if you like the Peace Dependency podcast, help us grow. Please share the podcast with every classic Tetris fan. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Peace Dependency. You can like our Facebook page, Peace Dependency Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will have all the podcasts uploaded at full length. Also, you can listen to the Peace Dependency Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Join the Tetris Friendlies Discord server. Besides the fact that it's the place to discuss anything PDP, you can also participate in some lovely friendlies or put your ELO on the line in the various ELO battles. If you are on the Tetris Friendlies Discord server, make sure to ask for a PDP role so you won't miss anything. If you have a suggestion we need to have on the next Peace Dependency podcast, let us know through the socials or our Discord channel. Now, let's go back to the conversation with Ben, where we will be talking about his theory of maxing out in a year. Chris Higgins told me when he was on the podcast, he told me that you had a theory. And I can't remember it. I think it was after 2014 CTWC. It was at his house. And Chris, I'm sorry if I'll spoil your doc now. I'm sorry about it. But you had a theory that you can max out within a year after you start playing Tetris with the right dedication.
I think that we were all holding beers, and I think it was a Heineken for me. And we were talking about this in...
By the way, that's the wrong beer. Never go for a Heineken. It's just crap. I'm sorry.
I'm all about...
I'm a Dutchie.
I'm all about making bad choices and debating in kitchens. And this is what I was doing that night. It might not have been a Heineken. He probably wouldn't allow Heineken in his house. Let's pretend it was... What do you hope it was?
Krolls.
It was Krolls.
Yeah.
Oh, I've drinking that too. I like that. I don't remember who all was on either side of this debate, but I believe that I think Terry Purcell were on the side that definitely people could do it.
Yeah.
And the reason is Tetris is interesting. It's unique in some ways, but it's also not unique. Any kind of skill in existence is a skill, right? And we have seen people get good in a year at everything under the sun. People go from being planes not existing to the Red Baron shooting 200 people out of the sky because he's so good at flying quickly, right? Like people are good at using their brains to become good at things. So, and how many times now have we seen people go in a year or less from start to max out? Probably a lot of times now.
But it was 2014. That was the primary style. So that is difficult to master.
It is harder to master. And you would have thought that I would be on the other side of the debate because I'm terrible at Tetris and it took me many, many years. But no, I believe in the ability of people.
So you're someone who's been around in the community for so long. So you've been to the very first CTWC. You missed one CTWC in Portland in 2015. That's the only one you missed in Portland. So you've been to pretty much every CTWC. So you know the community inside out. So before Discord was a thing and became the main hub of anything NES Tetris, you had all these different forums, you had the Facebook groups and all that. Yeah. Can you compare the community of what's now the Discord community? Can you compare that to the Facebook groups, or can you compare that to the online forums?
Ooh. I guess in those days, the community was less constantly interacting. And the biggest forum we had was Tetris Concept. Someone would get a good score or something, they'd post it on there, and people would type back and forth, congratulations, yada, yada, yada. I think Alex Kerr actually kept up the list over there. And we used that, and we were mostly, a lot of us were on Facebook. Facebook's kind of a dying thing just in general. So even people who were on Facebook are no longer, and younger people aren't joining it. And, you know, Facebook might die completely one day. Who knows? So you get this Facebook community would have died just because Facebook's dying, even if it weren't replaced by the other thing. It's better now in a way because you can be more constantly interacting, which is almost worse in some other ways. Like, because it's nice to step away for a while.
Yeah.
When I step away from Tetris, I know I'll step back. And people just accept this about me. I'm like a sine wave.
Yeah.
But the community is so huge now that it's always roaring, and I can always go to Discord and ask some random question, which I do. I'd ask just the most random questions, and there's someone there to answer in 3 seconds. Because there's thousands of people. Just recently I went on there and I'm like, so if a dude gets 3 million, how does that count in the back-to-back count?
I know. I saw that. And then you type underneath that this is my 1 in every 8 months question that I pop out.
And it is. I'll be gone. I'll just ghost for another 8 months and I'll come back in. But it's nice because it's a very accepting community, whether you're there every hour or whether you're there every 9 months.
But what was the moment where you realized that this single player game became a game to you that multiple players played? Was it because you saw the press release for Ecstasy of Order, or was it something you discovered through the forums that you searched to search for a world record to exploit getting on Ecstasy of Order?
One of the biggest forms, it's not even a form, but it's just a piece of technology, is YouTube. The existence of YouTube is really if there were a big bang moment in the universe of video gaming, it was that, because it went from just people existing in the world to now you can video record and share a thing. Yeah. So that's what ultimately made it possible for the grainy old Jonas video or the first Maxout by Harry to even exist.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, ever since YouTube came out in 2005, it's been just really incremental the entire time of growing and growing like a snowball.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it grows from here. Probably just kind of more people. But that was really the biggest trigger. And then there was a little bit more here, a little bit more there of ways to connect with each other. Facebook, Tetris Concept, Hard Drop to some extent at certain points. Twin Galaxies, people were more active on in those early days. Things just morph and grow. I think the biggest single trigger was YouTube.
Yeah. So when you had these Facebook groups and forums, when someone posts a Maxout or someone posts what back in 2013, 14, 15 was something rare, was that doubt? How did you handle all that?
Yeah, there's always doubt. Even now, something big happens and there could be doubt. And it's probably even the case that because Maxout is such a tiny thing in the community overall now, compared to like a 1 point whatever the heck or 3 point something, that a person could theoretically fake one with a little bit lower evidence and people would just accept it because, whatever. So probably some of those things exist even now. And the notion of people maybe cheating things back in the day was ever present. And we kind of just have to watch for it. It was also harder to cheat, though, because there weren't as many ROMs to easily cheat at the game.
You only had your original cartridge, and if you had it, a Game Genie.
Yeah. The biggest exploit people could do, and they wouldn't even necessarily be doing it intentionally. Sometimes people just didn't know certain things about how PAL cartridges played on NTSC platforms. But I think there's some way that you might put one of the versions in one of the other versions, and it makes it easier to max out.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if people cheated intentionally, but a couple people got max outs, and people would be like, hey, that's this on a that. And they'd be like, oh, okay, never mind. But mostly they were just perfectly honest and they just didn't know. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I never minded the notion of a little cheating in the community. I mean, I'm not cheating. I'm not saying people should, but I know that it exists, but I don't think that the community largely does it all that much.
No. And was it still it because the classic Tetris community is a pretty nice community to be in. Everyone is supportive of each other. But was it also bad back in the day, or was it a little bit more toxic?
No, I think what luck we've had. We haven't really been a toxic community. I don't know. Can't remember any toxicity. We just pretended to have some in the movie, but there really hasn't been.
I mean, a movie is a movie.
There's always people who like don't get along, and there is that here and there between individual people, but not in large amounts. The worst thing that could happen is if like factions of Tetris started to hate each other, like rollers hating tappers for some reason. But why would that happen? Like,
Yeah.
I think there initially amongst the older players was almost a kind of a hurt feelings or almost like a our time is done now, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
A little bit when tapping really started getting out there. I didn't mind it. I just thought, and most people didn't mind it, and they got over it. It's just like, this is how it goes.
It's an evolution of the game.
Yeah. It is just how it goes.
It's the same with high jumping. One day you have one technique, the next day or the next year you have a new technique, and everyone uses that.
The high jump world record is something I always think about because it's about 2 inches higher than like the average wall.
Yeah.
In a house, and I think about that sometimes. I look at my ceiling and I'm like, 2 inches
How?
higher than that, a human jumped over. What the
Yeah.
hell?
It doesn't look when I watch track and fields on TV and they perform high jump, it doesn't feel that high because of the big mattress that's laying behind it.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, my ceiling is like 2 meters, whatever, 220 or something like that.
Yeah.
They jump higher than that. And I'm
Bananas.
like, it's so...
The fun fact about me is I don't really get into major sports that much. Like you said, you're into hockey, and I don't hate on people being into hockey, but the sports I do get into are weird. Like I'll occasionally go into a website called All Time Athletics.
Yeah.
And I'll just look at the list of all the world records, and I'll go find the YouTube videos of every single world record and watch it. Just because it's so amazing to see human beings do like a 400 meter faster than anyone in history. Like,
yeah,
what a deal.
I once watched a YouTuber breaking the pencil world record that you had to, I don't know how you call it in English. Pencil sharpening.
Sharpening?
They needed to sharpen 10 pencils.
So they're got to be like pushing and grinding.
No, the sharpener is between their legs, and they just use the technique of what you do for making fire. Just do that, and then within a couple of seconds.
Oh, it's that kind of sharpener?
Yes.
Oh my god.
The real life world record on according to speedrun.com, and you have an IRL tab there. The world record is 10 pencils sharpened within 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Wow. Because you have to. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you the world record after we're done.
here's kind of an aside about how just society can be weird, but pencils aren't even as common anymore. It seems like pens and mechanical pencils have taken over, but it used to be back when I was young. You had the ones you did by hand.
Yeah.
And then they were replaced with electric ones. And let me tell you, the hand ones were so superior. So just completely superior. To which I say, it isn't necessarily true that new technology always is better than old technology.
True.
Which is why NES Tetris remains the best. Because there have been some efforts at Tetris games. A lot of Tetris games are great, but NES is still...
I do love the Tetris Effect Connected game.
You ever played Cultures 2?
No.
Oh, you should try it. I'm like the evangelist of Cultures 2. I play as much or more of that I'm not that good at it, but I play as much or more of that as I do NES. It's beautiful. It's just gorgeous.
Wow, I should try it.
It kind of has like a different rule set to it to make you need to do different things to be successful. You won't be Tetrising and you won't be T-spinning.
Guideline is weird. Modern Tetris games are weird.
I think it's weird that guideline exists because ultimately the guidelines mean that every new version of Tetris is actually just the same game.
Yeah.
And you can kind of mess around with how many people are in a room playing and this and that, but they are just the same game.
Yeah.
And Cultures 2 is different. It's a different game, and it forces you to have different strategy.
When you were on the forums back in the day, did you have any matches? Did you try to have any matches between each other?
Yeah, we did. Before the real modern era started, we used to do on something called Tiny Chat. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
the existence of that? You could fit up to 5 people in a video call, and all we would do is we would just point the cameras at the screens. And we would,
Yeah.
I had a little Google Doc, and I still have who won those. And some of the good
Oh,
players
wow.
would come. And so I think I might have been the first to run an online Tetris tournament, technically.
But was it best score, or was it a best of 5 match, or how did
yeah,
these matches go?
we would do kind of different things, but we would just kind of all play at once. So if we had 5 people, we would all play. I think it would be a rule like we'd play 5 games.
Yeah.
Or we would play 30 minutes and you get to finish the last game kind of deal. And we would take the highest 3 and we would
Yeah.
write them down. And sometimes things would get muddy because you might have the highest game and someone else would have the highest combined from the top 3.
Yeah.
Could happen. And we didn't really define victory that super well.
How often did you host that, or how often did you participate in that?
That wouldn't have happened more than 5 times, but maybe that many. So,
But was it not something you thought about? What if we can take this game online?
oh yeah, that was the main thought when I did that, or when we did that. I don't think I was the only one to necessarily run that, but
Yeah.
it was. We definitely wanted a way to take it online. As soon as we met in person, we were like, we should hang out online and play somehow.
Yeah.
The technology was sort of starting to be there more and more. And so we tried with those, and we had a lot of fun while we did it.
So how did you, and when did you transition from pointing a camera to your TV screen to record your Tetris play to a AV to USB cable so you can record it on your laptop?
Some people did it a lot earlier than me, but as soon as someone who was smart enough drug me kicking and screaming through the process, and it was a combination, I think, of Trey Harrison and Alex Kerr who helped say you have to order this and you put it in your computer like this, and finally I got to where I have a working thing, and it's such a simple thing.
Even if people in the community are not familiar with you as a person, they might recognize your name because your last name is associated with a term that we use in classic Tetris, a mullen game. What is the story about the original mullen?
Oh God, let me just paint the scene for you. So this is me and Yanni are playing. I have a hot game going. Not even that hot a game. Not by modern standards.
When was it?
I think it was like 2015. No, that was the one I missed. Probably 2016. And so I have an okay game going, and it was kind of like the commentators were like, "Oh, you should just keep going." I kind of heard that, and I wanted to keep going too because I thought, what if I did max out? Because I was still kind of on the bubble of being able to do that. So I did it. I kept going. As soon as I came off the stage, I don't know if I should name names, but somebody said, "You're never going to live that down." And I remember saying to them, well, good. Then my name will be remembered. And here we are. My name remembered. This is the one way I can live on forever. But yeah, I'll sometimes I go into Tetris tournaments and sometimes I comment, sometimes I don't, but I'll hear my name and I'll see it. And I think some people don't even know it's attached to a human in an actual event. But I'm that person, and that was that event. And Yanni, Yanni poured beer on my head that very night, and I poured beer on his head too at the party.
Why?
I don't know. It's just something we did. But Tetris parties, the after party as we call it, used to get a little wilder because this wasn't always a teenage game mainly.
No, and high on energy and lots of alcohol.
And we still, even with teenagers there, we still, because. Well, I should just shut up. Even the last one we were at, we had a party. I mean, and we had a much more toned down party, but people still had their beer while they were there. I did.
So, once again, you've looked your way into naming something after yourself. And
crazy?
probably will live forever in classic Tetris because it's one of the terminology we use.
Yeah. And I had a lot of fluke luck. Like, another piece of fluke luck I had was that just before hypertapping did exist, but before it became like hundreds of people good at it, I was doing the classic Tetris monthlies for a while, and I had really great outcomes. I got to the finals like 5 times in a row, and I won one of them. I'm by far the worst Tetris player who could say that he has won the classic Tetris monthly. By far. I don't deserve to be on that list, but there I am. They can't kick me out.
But you're one of 5 DAS players that ever won Masters.
Yeah. and I'm
So
terrible compared to people like Harry.
But whenever you pop up in the CTM Discord, you always have the Masters winners roll.
Darn right, yeah. And I have screenshotted that and put it on Facebook and made a point of how proud I am to be the worst player to be able to be there. And I love to look at that thing and be like, yep, that's me.
So, what are your thoughts when people are playing out a good game and that it's called a mullen?
Why would I ever want that to change? No, that's wonderful. I mean, it's about having a good attitude about things. Like, you would have to try to see it as a bad thing. To see it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because it means something fairly neutral. It's just play it out. And that could be it could be kind of a dick move if you do it in a dick move way. It's most of the times it's done just fine.
I'm not a fan of people who mullen their game out. I believe it keeps the flow out of the game. But I have to ask you, because if I don't ask you, they will get mad at me. But do you think that you should play a game out when you're on a good run?
Only in very limited circumstances. So like what you're saying, people shouldn't play out a game. I mostly do agree with. And people always say, like, I'll be in a tournament and I'll be in a game and people are like, you should have mullened that out. But I actually personally almost never do. But for that very reason. So I think you got to kind of just pick your moment. If it's near the end of the game and I'm genuinely on a max out pace, I'm going to try to max out. Like,
of course.
I'm not going to stop. And that's what that's when you should do it. And you shouldn't even do it just for a max out if you're dog, because then you're maxing out every game if you're him, right? So I don't even know what the line is for people at that level. They have to come up with their own line.
I don't know. I don't have any problems when you're on level 26 and your opponent tops out, so play out the less 20-ish lines. But I don't know.
That's the idea of when you'd want to do it. You want to be kind of later in the game and be on a hot game.
I just don't like the fact when you get a good transition and someone tops out right after transition. I don't want to wait your post play before we can move on to the next game or can move on to the next match.
Oh god, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it right after transition. That's when it's tacky.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm speaking to the whole community here, maybe you're all hearing me, as it carries my name, do good by my name. Do it 26 or after if you're DAS. I don't even know what to tell you to do if you're a roller. Do it when you feel you need to, I guess.
This should be an official rule by now. You said it, the namesake of this rule. You should make it official. You can only mullen after 26 or later.
If somebody does it 25 or earlier, you got to call it someone else. Call it a quit.
If you do it, you just lose that game. Point goes to the other player.
That's fine by me.
So here's a funny thing. When I think 2 months ago, when I sent you a Facebook message asking if you wanted to come on the show, pretty much at the same time I got a DM in my Discord from Louie Skouie suggesting that you should come on the show, and he said he was going to talk to you and said you should come on the show. He also said to me that you could trash talk about him. That was fine.
Oh,
But
then maybe I should. Here's some trash talk about Louie. You want to hear some trash talk about Louie?
yeah,
Louie! The trash talk will actually sound really nice. Because here's the truth about Louie. Louie's a good guy. He's basically my manager because he knows I chip out of Tetris often. So he knows I know nothing about what's going on. So this is why he basically made this happen. Like he makes most things happen for me in Tetris. He just functions as my manager. We had a thing kind of going where who's going to have the most max outs, me or him. And then I kind of quit playing. So now he has a lot more than me. I think he has like 30, maybe 30, and I think 24. I should try to catch up.
how did this friendship start between you and Louie?
Well, same way they all start. I mean, play Tetris. I mean,
Of course. But what makes it different?
He's my
between a
frenemy.
friendship-
He's my frenemy. And
That's
when
the
you're
difference.
a frenemy, a frenemy, you also take great joy in defeating them. And we had a 99 game thing, and I beat him. Here's my trash talk. I beat him by a lot, and it felt really good. So there's my trash talk for you, Louie. I don't think I lost a single night of it, and
You did first night.
I lost. No.
Yes.
Lost the night? On one of the
Yeah.
nights? Really? Are you sure about that? Do you have this up in front of you? You are prepared.
I had, but
Should be like a
someone changed.
CNN commentator.
Oh no, please no. Someone changed the name in the classic Tetris match database, so now I have to wait like 5 minutes before I can pull up all your results. Just get off the match Tetris database when I'm recording PDP. It's my main source of information. But and Louie also wants you to know that why your wife and your kid are tolerating your addiction and that you should get professional help.
I thought Louie was my professional help.
But will we see something else, like another best of 99 match between you and Louie in 2022? Or we will see it against someone else?
Yeah, something like that should happen.
Why did it happen in the first place?
The same reason everything happens. Louie was like, we got to do this. You got to come out of retirement and do something, man. So, yeah, I should do that. I don't know. Who do I want to play? It shouldn't be Louie again, although it could be. Because he's gotten stronger over the year. So if I beat him 66-39, I think at this point it'd be damn near 50-50.
I know someone who I don't think you have a high chance of defeating.
Ooh.
But I know someone you probably want to play a best of 99 match against.
Ooh.
NGC man.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, I'd get killed. I'd get completely killed.
But you know, you're his hero.
Oh, that's nice.
You're the one who got him into NES Tetris.
It's always nice to kill your heroes. And that's what would happen.
They say that's why they say never meet your heroes, just kill them.
Yeah, because he's gonna slaughter me, and he's gonna be like, "Why? I look up to this."
So NGC man
For sure.
versus Ben Mullen, best of 99. We gotta book it. We gotta do it.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
What me and my friend do, there's a guy who does karaoke with me who's pretty good at Tetris, and we only do level 19. I'm really a big advocate of this community moving more to just level 19 matches. Does that sound crazy of me? I know 18 is like the thing, but
I host a weekly ELO battle show. And I have one-time Pumpy Heart current ELO owner on the show, and he sanctioned a 19-start match. But it's boring because you don't get to a point where you transition into a higher speed. Because if you transition to a higher speed, you just go to kill screen. And now you have that feeling of setting up the match on 18? Who gets the high transition score? Can they overcome the deficit on 19 play? Will they even build a bigger lead on 19? I think it's just
hard to argue with what you're saying.
Yeah, story-wise, you should start on 18. The community is ready. The players are ready to do 19 only starts because the scores are off the roof. But I think match-wise, also if you play 19 on a world championship, while you have a lot of viewers who only watch the world championship, and you do only 19 starts, it will be way too quick.
Yeah, you're right. I can't argue with it. I do love 19 so much. That's the only reason I say it. But you are right.
I think we should have a 19 start, or for rollers 29 start side event or online tournament, but not for big important tournaments.
Oh yeah, not for big important ones. But I mean, how many people outside of people who are interested in Tetris would really watch Best of 99 me and NGC, man? So
yeah, not a lot of casual viewers, just
right.
really community members. Yes. So you've been jumping in and out of the scene, but do you try to keep up with everything that's going on in the scene, or when you come back into competition, you just...
I mean, I see if something big happens, sometimes I'll see it because it'll pop up on YouTube if I happen already to follow the person, or sometimes I'll see it on Facebook. I haven't been on Discord in too long, and so like when I went to this Minnesota qualifier, I was just completely shocked to hear about this 3.7. So things do happen and I don't know them. Also, like when I recently logged in, this was like 3 months back, I logged into Discord, and Alex Thatch had messaged me. I only had one world record left. It was just from the old days. So we had all set world records and just random things, and it just takes time for these rollers to finally play them, for them to fall. I had the world record in 18.5 B mode, and he beat it. He messaged me and said, I beat your record. And I said, damn it, Alex. No, I was fine. But there that goes.
Do you watch any tournaments that are happening online?
Kind of at random. I'll just get on Twitch, and if something's happening, I'll pop into it.
Is it only major tournaments like CTM Masters or CTL Division 1, or do you watch the race streams that are happening basically every hour?
Anything that happens to be there, I'll watch. I'm less of an avid viewer than I should be. Because it would make me a better Tetris player if I were a more avid viewer too. Just stealing those strategies.
Is it something to learn as a desk player from tappers and rollers?
Not as much. So I will admit that even though I love tap and roll and I am amazed at the accomplishments, I do get less from watching it just in terms of strategy, because there's not some strategy though is the same in both. Like the creative ways you can use pieces to dig is pretty similar. There's not that much difference in that. So that can be interesting to watch, but it's less interesting to see how they build a stack overall, because it doesn't inform anything about what I would do. I like to watch the best DAS players as much as possible.
So who do you want to watch if you're watching a DAS player?
Oh, I'll creep on. I'll be creeping on like Harry's stream if he streams. And who's the guy who set the DAS world record?
Tristop.
I'll watch Tristop when he plays DAS. Just whenever I see DAS, I know Sharky plays. He still plays with mostly DAS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch him sometimes. I have actually seen NGC Man. Is he DAS?
DAS, yes.
Yeah.
He's grinding for, hoping for a 1.3 to be the fourth person with a 1.3.
Oh my goodness gracious! And I don't have 1.2. Can't be this person's hero. Oh God. Okay. Well, I hope he gets it. I would love to see that.
Are you coming out of semi-retirement in 2022?
Oh, sure. I never let a whole year go by without playing.
Yeah.
And it's usually in summer, it seems like, that I start going again.
Are you planning on playing in any of the online tournaments, or want to qualify for CTM, or maybe join CTL season?
I want to play in things online that are low commitment, just because my life is so busy. So I won't join like a season thing that
Yeah.
has me playing a lot. And what I've told myself I want to get better at doing, I know that certain ways of doing things that exist that are almost like karaoke. They should call one of
Yeah.
them Tetris karaoke, in fact. Because aren't some of them you just go in and you're like, exclamation point match, and it just matches you up against someone and then you play them? Something like that?
On the Tetris Friendlies Discord server, there are pretty much every day of the week, Monday to Friday, there are events pretty much every day. People host rogue friendlies. Just don't tell Kingsman about it because it will get mad at you. Yeah, people host elo battles whenever they feel like. So it's always happening.
That's what I really should do that more, because it's easy to do when it happens.
Yeah.
And that's all I really want in competition mostly, is just like a best of 5 against someone and then done. Because a full tournament they go like 7 hours. Like, it's a day.
CTM now schedules it bracket by bracket. So
that's pretty smart.
So you have your green bracket. Yeah, but it's also because you have like now 5 different Masters events on the monthly Tetris Twitch. Yeah. You have your color bracket and then the semis and finals as the last tournament. So you only need to it's only max 2 hours for 3 matches, or 2.5 hours.
That's not so bad.
It's better than playing in the orange bracket as seed number 1, wait 5 hours until you can play your semifinal match.
Yeah. That's how it would be sometimes back in the day.
So earlier this month, you participated in the CTWC Minnesota qualifier. It was a live tournament. And after all these online tournaments and matches that you played over the past, 2.5 years, and not having a live tournament for so long, what was it to be around all these Tetris players in a tournament setting?
It was great. It was a small tournament because it was just kind of Minnesota. So I think there were 5 people competing.
Yeah.
And what's his screen name that ran?
Rhubarb
was kind of running it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a bracket. It's just set up like a bracket. We did qualify. And it was like being at the original CTWC in a way, because we started small, even the whole world. But now, Atfoy was so strong. He was like he was like facing a Harry or something back in the day. He showed no emotion and just crushed me. I played him twice. I got to the finals against him twice.
Yeah, once in the winner bracket, once in the grand final, because it was double elimination.
We had a loser's bracket, and it was it was a lot of fun. I finally got one of my friends in real life, John Byram. If you saw it, you'd have seen him. He's pretty good at Tetris. We play Tetris all the time, and then we go to karaoke and play chess in karaoke. This is just the standard thing we do whenever we hang out. And he'll sometimes beat me in the Tetris. He's real good.
Yeah.
And so he came out. It was his first live tournament too. It was a lot of fun. Thank God in-person stuff is back.
Yes. Are you planning to go to more live events this year, if you can?
Well, I don't know what the CTWC will be like this year. I just don't know. I know Portland Retro Gaming Expo is back. If that happens, I'm definitely going.
So we record this podcast on the 16th of April. Last night, Portland Retro Gaming Expo announced that they will be back in 2022, weekends in October. CTWC has not confirmed yet if they will be there.
Yeah.
So what I will say is speculation. It's based on nothing. But what if CTWC will not be at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo?
I'll be really sad. And if it's somewhere else that's live and in person, I'll still be happy. But I'll be sad if it's not live and in person. But I get
in Portland,
I don't care where in the country it is, because it's a flight for me either way.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if it's somewhere, I assume it'd be in the United States because there's already like European stuff and whatnot. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me where it is. I want it to be somewhere so we can all get together.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I'll just be sad.
Did you enjoy the online tournaments in 2020 and 2021? Even though we had no option of going live.
They they were humbling.
Yeah.
I can't. No, I kind of knew like that last in-person year. I said to my wife, I qualified that year.
Yeah.
Which almost kind of shocked me. And I turned to my wife and I said, I might never qualify again because there's so many strong people now. And that 20 and 21 proved that. And so a lot of it is I think I'm going to the in-person tournament to just do the side events, hang out, all that kind of stuff. But I still want to go for sure.
Yeah. So it's nothing more like a little bit of nostalgic that Portland hosted the World Championship since 2012. So if this is the year that CTWC will be a standalone event or will join a different convention, it doesn't really matter to you?
Oh, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter at all. I mean, I love Portland. I like being in Portland, and I like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. But what I like more than any of those things is the Tetris community and just us being together. So we could be in a warehouse for all I care.
Yeah.
As long as we all get together and have fun. So I mean, nothing against the PGRE, but it's like that's what matters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's in Portland necessarily either, but we could just all get together. I will be a happy person.
So I love useless information, and I found one about you. I looked at the standings of the live CTWCs, like the end results, and since 2014, you finished either 12th or 13th.
Yeah, like all the time. I like always finish that same place.
In 2014, you finished 13. You finished in 2016, 13. You finished in 2017, 12th, 18, 13, and then 19, you finished 12th.
And that's because the field kept getting stronger.
Yes.
So I'm actually more proud as you go along of each of those because I did have to get better to do that.
Yeah.
But it's in a way, it fills my heart with joy and pride that I would be that high. And there's also a certain level of frustration that I never got a little bit higher than that. But that's what it is. I'm always 12th or 13th, like forever.
In 2013, you finished 6th. So that was the only time you reached the quarterfinals.
My high water mark, yeah.
Yeah. But when CTWC started, and especially in the early years, did you thought that you could win it, or maybe go on an underdog run and fluke your way into a world championship?
It would have had to have been a fluke, yeah. Because I knew I had watched Jonas play, I had watched Harry play, I watched Thor play before it. I thought it would take a miracle, but it's a random game, so you do never know. So I had some hope going into some of the early tournaments, but I did not think I was going to beat those people.
And when was the moment in 2019 that you realized I might never make the main bracket again?
Oh, in the qualifying line, because that was the worst qualifying year. I mean, I'm not saying it was poorly run. It was a function of the fact that there's only so many TVs, and that year there were so many people qualifying. Yeah. I think I didn't do well in my 1 hour, so I had to keep playing after that, and I think I only got 3 games to work with by waiting in that line, and I just happened to hit not like a max out or anything, but a good enough a game to qualify, and that was a squeaker, and I can't, holy cow. And I did better than I deserved to in the head-to-heads then after, so I maintained my standard 12th place. Which is honestly the 2019 12th or 13th or whichever it was, better than the 2013 6th.
You think so, yeah?
I do, just because of how many strong players there were. I think it's just mathematically a stronger finish than 6th in 2013.
You qualified in 2019 as seed number 16, so you dodged that round 0 match.
Yep.
So you could relax on Saturday and not worry about playing a match after qualifying period.
Yeah, thank God. And that's also the lowest seed I think that got they gave prize money. So I got a tiny amount of prize money. But I got this little check from CTWC and I thought, oh, neat.
I'm a professional Tetris player now.
Yeah, now I am.
So was 2019 your least favorite CTWC then?
Every
Because-
CTWC is my most favorite in a way. The only scary, I guess I'd call it, part was the qualifying line. Like that was tense for everybody. Really good players didn't qualify, and I get why, because there weren't that many games to work with.
Yeah.
And that was the tough part. Every other part of that year was wonderful. I
It
think
was a big room with a lot of fans.
yeah, and Lexi was there. It was a great year. There's been no bad year of it. The only year that was kind of sketchy was was it the second year or third year? The one we were on a college campus.
That was 2011.
That was a year that made me worry that was going to be the last year if we didn't find a more sustainable way to host it.
Yeah.
Because you could just feel the instability of it.
Yeah. Thank God Portland took it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So you don't have a special CTWC, your most favorite CTWC?
Oh, it's always got something to do with the parties afterwards, more so than it has with the tournament itself. But the year just before the Hyper Tappers really came in and destroyed us.
Yeah.
Probably so that would have been 2017 maybe. We all did karaoke, and us DAS players were the best players. Because you always like to be top dog, and I don't know. I wasn't even top dog within DAS, but it's like at least DAS players and us old guys.
Yeah.
And that was like the end of an era. That was like the last
Did it
hurrah.
feel like that in 2017?
No,
or
no,
just...
you don't know the end is coming. But looking back, that night at
You do.
karaoke and the fun we had at that tournament was the end of the DAS era. So maybe that's my favorite, but all of them are my favorite because they all have special moments. I don't even know why I missed the one I missed. It was for some stupid flippant reason. Like I was just like, well, I've gone every year, not this one, and that's all it was. I should have gone.
Really?
It's so much fun to go. I had no good reason for not going. A stupid thing.
It's still bugging you a bit.
Every time they're like, "Oh, this person's been to every single one," I'm like, I could have easily been one of those people. All I had to do was actually show up.
You just only had to qualify. That was it.
Yeah.
In 2015. That was the first year they used St. P-Sets cards. Or maybe that was 2016. I can't remember. I'm getting old.
Oh, I'm getting old. Yeah, I don't remember when that happened either, but I'm glad that happened.
Is it more fair now with St. P-Sets?
It's more fair. It's definitely more fair. The randomness of the old way would potentially help a person who's less good, like me, beat a person like a Jonas. So that I kind of relied on different piece sets, theoretically, even though it never worked.
Yeah.
But the same piece sets are necessary. The only drawback to them is that the strategy of playing slow is so important because you can know when a long bar is coming just by watching for the flash on the other screen. And so everyone plays as slow as they can. It's like a race to be the slowest.
It brings a whole different strategy playing in a live tournament with St. P-Sets.
If they could make any change at all that would be slight, it would be to automatically start both screens at the same time. Because I think even people get a slight advantage just by third of a second later pressing start.
Or maybe remove the flash screen when you score Tetris.
Even then, the commentators would be like Tetris. So there's just no avoiding it live.
Couple more questions before I let you go. I saw on your Facebook. I stalked your Facebook a little bit. I saw that you were the 2010 Minnesota Tetris champion.
Is that true? Yeah, that sounds like me. Why not?
Was it real, or was it just we have someone from Minnesota on the dock and he broke line world record, but that doesn't sound really fun. We're making the Minnesota 2010 Tetris champion.
Yeah, I don't even know what that could mean. It might mean because that was the year of the movie. That would come from the Milwaukee tournament. So at best, it would be the Wisconsin champion. But I'm from Minnesota.
yeah.
So they probably
Yeah.
called me, or I just
The
called
Minnesota.
myself the Minnesota champion. Now I can't call myself that either.
No, Bad Boy is the Minnesota champion.
That was the official Minnesota champion. And the people who weren't at that tournament are even stronger. So like Meme wasn't at that tournament.
Yeah, but still, you gotta.
Got to be present. To
yeah.
win. Yeah.
Exactly. You can't defeat people who are not there. I heard that you had the nickname the Icon of Classic Tetris.
Oh yeah, I've had a few nicknames. The Icon comes from Kingsman.
Yeah.
He just calls me the Icon, just because I've been around forever.
How do you feel about that when you get called the Icon? Because if I translate it to pro wrestling, the Icon is Sting. It's a major superstar who've done it all, and we talked about it. You fluked your way into everything. Maybe you're an icon about that.
I fluked my way into that nickname.
Maybe.
So
yes.
like, yeah, I mean, a genuine icon would be like Harry and Thor and Jonas.
Yeah.
And but Kingsman's a very nice man, and he gave me the nickname the Icon. Other nicknames I've had in the game don't sound as good. Someone else gave me the nickname of Ben effing Mullen. I think it was Terry Purcell gave me that nickname one year. And then another Bo Style sent me a onesie when I had a newborn that said my dad, something like my dad is Ben effing Mullen. Don't worry, newborns can't read. It's fine.
I can't remember anything. Just don't show that whenever he's like 12 or something like that. He was like, "Oh my god, you made me wear that."
Oh, it's very cute.
So my last question to you is: what are your plans in NES Tetris for 2022, or maybe for the future? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do?
Let's just say, so for 2022, it's unclear. Let's not even give it a time limit, just for the future. I want to do more Tetris karaoke stuff. That's like on a personal level. Like, it helps me meet more people.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, I know the community inside and out, but that's kind of not true anymore. I don't know a lot about the new community.
Yeah.
New folks know way more about that. So I should get it out there a little more, shake it up. And always in the back of my mind is the goal to get 1.2 overall and a 19 max. Those are kind of like dream ones. If they never happen, they never happen, but that's kind of like,
what is more important to you, the 19 max or the 1.2?
Almost completely equivalent. I am the same distance from both of them. They are just both like the two big things.
But if it's almost equivalent, that means that one is just a
you
little
want me
bit
to pick?
higher.
You want me to
I
pick one?
want to know which one.
Okay, the 19.
I thought so.
19,
Because you love the 19 stars.
Yeah,
so
it's
much.
close though. Let's just. Why don't I just get a 1.2 on 19?
That would be so ballers if you got that. Just screw the system and do both at once.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you so much for joining me on the Peace Dependency podcast for this month. It was such a blessing to have you on.
It was a pleasure. I enjoyed this thoroughly.
And with that all being said, this will be the end of the Peace Dependency podcast. Thank you all for listening, and make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to join the Tetris Friendlies Discord server and follow me on the socials @SirMazer. Have a great Tetris month, and I will see you all in June. Bye! The Peace Dependency podcast was brought to you by Total Red NES. Shop your Goofy Food Controller TWO merch and CTWC approved hardware on TotalRedNES.com.